So good morning and welcome to the British Women's Team Cup with me, Matt Payne, here live on the Full Speed Events YouTube channel. We have got loads of action for you today, and we are bringing you the fourth race in the series. As you can see up here on the screen, we have our riders all lined up and ready to go, and we have currently got 23 riders on the start line, more to come, and some real big hitters. Now we are going to be bringing you all of the action, but first of all, let's have a quick roundup of where we've got to so far in the series. So if we take a quick look at the series at the moment, we've had races 1, 2 and 3. That was out and back again at Surrey Hills and the Three Sisters Reversed. Now, we have today the London Petzl. This is race 4 of the Zwift Race Series. Now, the first 3 races were put in to replace existing series races of the British Women's Team Cup that were missing because of COVID. Now, the 4th one is put in to make things a little bit more interesting, and that is all to do with how the points are going to be allocated. And don't forget, the points for the top teams on the Zwift Race Series will transfer into the Road Race Series, which kicks off on the 23rd of May at the Banbury Start Road Race. And we've got lots of entries. That's a full field already. The crit at the Josie Gilbert Memorial crit in Loughborough already filling, and I think almost at capacity now, so riders really do have to get their entries in all the way down to Darley Moor. So don't forget, you can get yourselves out there and get yourselves into the live races, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of action out there. And as soon as we can have spectators, make sure you're down there at the side, because there's nothing quite like seeing the riders in real life. But watching the riders with me today is my co-host, who is an experienced Zwift racer, who has led the women's Donny Chain Gang on Zwift, a rider on Zwift since 2015. Back when we only just had Watopia in the world of Zwift. It is Emma Payne, who has been with me all the way through. Welcome, Emma. Good to have you with us.
Good morning, Matt. Nice to be here again, and can't wait to get the racing underway in what is the 4th round and the final round on Zwift today.
It is, and we've got a lot going on, haven't we? Because we've got a really busy course that is different to anything we've done so far in the series, isn't it?
Oh, we've got a really interesting course today. We've got a really long run-in to the first climb today of just over 30k. And then we've got some really long sections between the climbs. And unlike the last 2 rounds, just 2 climbs today, and it's going to be really interesting to see the dynamics of the race field today.
Definitely. Well, let's bring you the results from the races. First of all, race number 1. So race number 1 is the team results from 1 with Sam Paran scoring a massive point score, 335 points. Pro Noctis, the Red Chili Bites, Heidi Kjartsen team in with 215. These really were the 2 big scorers. And Emma, They really did dominate the racing, but Cowley Road Condors put in a decent score that might stand them in good stead later on.
Yeah, Sam Paran women's team were absolutely outstanding in the first round, if you remember, Matt. They were packing that lead group on the road and really showing strength and depth in numbers, which is what obviously Team Cup racing is all about. We've seen some changes since then, but it's going to be really interesting because that original Sam Paran team is near enough back in full strength today.
And on event 2, they were strong, but they were only in 4th place. So the results up now for the second of the races. So we had TW1 Racing taking top spot with a win, the first of the wins for Gail Robinson. And then we were backed up by Pro Noctis, then Team LDN, Sam Paran and CC London. But Cowley Road Condors down in 8th place there. And really did signal the point where TW1 and Gail Robinson became a force to be reckoned with, didn't they, Emma?
Oh, I think in round 2 we saw some teams really think about the tactics they were going to use in the racing, and we saw that amazing attack really early on by Gail Robinson, and she just took it to everybody that day. And I don't think anyone thought she was going to stay out and away from the pack for as long as she did, but she put that attack in much earlier than we anticipated, and it paid off, and she held it all the way till the end.
She did indeed, and it was something that was replicated at race 3. Now, we had a reduced number of teams at race number 3. However, it made for some very interesting team tactics, and it did mean we could focus on each of the individual riders more, which was great. And we could see that the rider who scored big and the team that scored big was once again TW1 Racing. This is where they really did move themselves up the standings here, with Cowley Road Condors coming back. And really, for me, the big losers on the day were the Pro Noctis team.
Yeah, and it really showed who was watching the racing on round 3 and which teams were where on the field, because it really did shake things around a bit. Samparan chose to sit out. Other teams came to the fore, and we had people watching Gale this time. So we had the other teams actually paying more attention to what they anticipated the tactics were going to be from Gale and TW1, and we saw some different finishes in that field.
Indeed, and we've got to make a mention of Sarah Briggs, who broke away and was very aggressive running for that RFDA squad. And as she took a podium spot, a top 3 position in that finish. But as Emma said, Samparan weren't there. Now, it is 3 out of 4 point standings that will count for this. And that's going to become important. And let's show you exactly why that is. Because TW1 Racing are leading with 656 points. Pro Noctis in second place with 613. Samparan in third place with 543. The team in fourth place, the team of Team LDN Brother UK, in theory are not racing. They don't have a rider fielded at the time that we went live on air. And that means that they are not going to score any more points. But if you look at the yellow highlighted numbers for our top 3 teams, TW1's Racing's lowest score is 149, Pro Noctis 174, and Samparan 0. Now that means any points that Samparan gain today, even if it's 1, will add to their score. And at the moment they only need what is going to be 116 points, and they would actually move theoretically in front of TW1 Racing if TW1 Racing don't improve on their 149 points. But all the teams are looking for points, and all of the riders are there taking points, but only 4 riders count for points. So that means that if you've got 6 riders in the team and they take away points from the other riders behind, that's going to make a difference. Now, Emma, behind there's some real battles there with Cowley Road Condors, Will Houghton Race Team, RFDA and the Army Race Team in there. The Army Race Team 17 points on the first round, and they've got numbers in today. And RFDA, of course, if they score big today, they could move themselves right up there because they've got a 0 in there.
Yeah, and I think actually not just the front end of the race is going to be interesting today, but it's all down to where the whole team finish in relation to this Team Cup today. And as you indicate, Matt, RFDA are obviously out for points today, and they've got some great young riders. And it's really good to see such a young squad actually being part of this and actually taking it out and really playing with the front end of the field. Likewise, Samparan, as you say, I think it's going to be a strong team that can challenge them for the win of the Team Cup today.
Well, TW1 Racing, we've seen, have got very strong rider in Gale, and we'll go through our riders later on, but it's all going to come down to how those DSs, how their team managers manage those squads. And let's show you the teams who are racing today as we went to air. Now, the Army Cycling Race Team, Emma, they're there with the red and black kit in there for their A team and their B team. So once they go over the 6 riders, they then go into the B team. But the B team can take points away from other teams, even though they may not be scoring for Team A. So if Team A are higher up, Team B take points away. They won't want to finish any Team B riders in front of Team A. So those managers really have the work cut out. We've got Cowley Road Condors in here with Kristen Lovelock as the team manager. And they are going to be looking to move up from that 5th place at the moment, aren't they, Emma?
They are, and there's quite a big squad there today from them, which is great to see them fielding so many riders.
Now, the next teams, they are in alphabetical order at the moment. We have the Pro Noctis Red Chili Bikes, Heidi Kjartsen team with Rick Lister, the DS, very experienced rider, very experienced racer, very experienced manager. in the women's field, riding in that Zeb Peugeot-inspired kit. And they are a team that they've got the work cut out today, because they do have to fend off Saint-Piran, who have got a big score to be had, and they're wanting to overtake the team at the top, and of course have to watch their coattails, because you've got Cowley Road. So Rick's going to be multitasking, which I know he is very good at. We talked about RFDA, the Racing Female Development Academy, and Saint-Piran down there at the bottom. And the last of our teams, well, we have TW1 Racing, who have fielded 2 teams. The astute Lisa West, she knows the rules. She wrote the rules, so she should know what she's doing. She's got 2 teams in here today, and I think there's going to be some very interesting tactics of Team B, maybe trying to snaffle a few points away. And we've got Will Houghton Race Team, a team that we haven't talked too much about, but a team who have placed some riders right up there with Kearney in the last race, right up in that top 10, and very active in there. And again, somebody who's going to score some big points for them today, I think.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. I think what was interesting to see last time, whilst Pro Noctis didn't have riders right at the pointy end of the field, they were packing really, really well together in that second group. And they're a strong squad. They've got 4 riders in the race today, and I think they're going to be out to play.
Well, let's take a look at the riders we have. They are lined up in team order, in the standings order. So team number 1 is TW1 Racing. Now the TW1 Race team, their 8 team right up here. So we've got Gabby Nordin, we've Alexandra Hamilton, Victoria Strella, Kate McLeod, Gail Robinson and Shelley Coker. And Robinson really is the pick of that team, who's been so strong, hasn't she, Emma? And she really is going to be a danger today.
Well, yes, and it's going to be really interesting to see whether Gail tries what she's done in the last 2 rounds, whether they sit in that pack all the way to the bottom of that first climb at 31k in, and then I wonder whether Gail's going to open up that amazing engine of hers and that high cadence that we've seen from her and tap it all the way up that hill and pull away from the field.
Now the Pro Noctis team, they've got 4 very, very good riders. Amy Gorner, one of the team captain. You've got Charlotte Berry, Corinne Sight, and Millie Skinner. They are all good, fast, aggressive, attacking riders. They ride well together as a team, and I'm sure they'll all be talking to each other. If you were picking a rider today out of that squad to look after with a view that they're going to be the one that you're going to keep right in there, who would it be, Emma?
Oh, I have to say, looking at that, there's some good riders in there, but my call would be for them to be putting Charlotte Berry at the bottom of that climb so that she could really go with the rest of the riders on that attack if it's ready to go.
Well, we will see if that's going to be the case. Now, Saint-Piran have put some big numbers in here, some very good Zwift racers, with Becky Seal and Betsy Dew in there, Gemma Leanne Sargent and Laura Senior in there. Really strong squad from Saint-Piran.
It is a really strong squad, and to be really honest, Matt, I'm not sure anyone can beat them today.
Well, we will see. The next set of riders, our second set of riders, and this is as we went to Cowley Road Condors, putting in big numbers here. They've got Stuzzy Bowler in there, Henny Pukta in there, both good riders, but we're going to see if they can push up. They good numbers because they put lots of riders in the middle of the field. Can they push on that little bit more today? Rebecca Kearney and Ilya Spirapulo. Now, Spirapulo had technical issues last time. I expected her to be further up the field. Hopefully she's going to be right in there. Ruby First, Sarah Briggs and Rebecca Does, all looking to score points for the RFDA. And of course, we've got the Army Ladies Road team in there as well. Let's show you where they're heading, because the course is going to be instrumental to how this race plays out. So this is our course. It is a little complicated in the sense that we travel backwards and forwards over the big hill of the day, which is highlighted in red on your screen. We start at the top right hand corner of the screen, and we will head out for what is an essentially flat circuit. So we head out along and around the side of the river. We go around what is known as Greater London Flat. That is the big D-shaped loop that's flipped on its side. And we go around that the wrong direction for most people who have ridden, and we go along it the right direction for the way most people have ridden it, and come back around on to the hills, where we first of all go up Fox Hill, which is the shorter of the two climbs fractionally, and slightly steeper in places. So out along the river, into Greater London Flats, we go out past the Serpentine where our blue dot is travelling now, down along the riverside, and then back around in through past the Monsprit, which isn't worth anything in this race in terms of points, back out, and then we go up around the circuit the opposite direction. When we get into Trafalgar Square, once again we then drop straight out towards Tower Bridge in the start area, back up Fox Hill. So we're going to go up Fox, which is the climb our blue dots are riding up now, down the descent of Box Hill, and then it's a quick loop around in the middle of London, and you'll see our riders are going to be coming back through that sprint and then heading up Box Hill. This is the final climb before then dropping down, and the finish is just beyond that start point, and it's a tricky finish because it comes on you very, very quickly indeed. And Emma, trigger points for you, are they out on the climbs?
Well, I think the first trigger point, Matt, is going to be the front group selection off the start. As we've seen with Zwift Racing in the last few rounds, it really is a go from the gun, and once that red banner drops, that first push is going to be about that first group selection. I think once that's over and done with, it's hanging on and using your drafting technique until you get to that bottom of that first climb.
Well, you can see from the profile why Emma's really is emphasising staying on there. Let's unpack the 3D Velo Viewer. Matt, I'm going to say a massive thank you to Ben and all the team at Velo Viewer for their support of the series and providing us with the graphics. Let's unpack that to what is a slightly flatter and easier to understand route. I might be able to memorise all the twists and turns because I don't get out often enough, but for most people this is a much easier way of thinking of it. We have essentially rolling and flat roads until we get to 31.5k. Then we are on to Fox Hill, up Fox Hill, 2.5k long, drop down, and then up Box Hill, and that flat section is where Emma's talking about. So let's take a little look at the riders who are now lined up on the start line, currently with what is going to be 20 seconds to go. Emma, the nerves are going to be kicking in, aren't they?
Yeah, and very shortly you're going to see that cadence uplift, the gears change, and they're really going to start putting the power down in about now.
Well, this is going to be interesting. Let's jump in with Charlotte Berry and watch the riders as they head out onto circuit. And you can already see it is starting to be a fast run out here. And this group really are working hard, aren't they, Emma? They're quickly out from the gun here, and we expect to see some big numbers, don't we?
We do, and look at that stretch in that group already. We're already seeing the front of that group really pushing on, and those riders at the back, they're really going to have to push on those pedals to close those gaps down early.
Well, let's bring up the head-up display. Let's have a look at some of these numbers out here. About 4.5 watts per kilo, 5 watts per kilo from this front group. If we zoom the map in top right-hand corner, you can see just about everybody hanging on here. We are going to jump in with our riders a little bit near the back of that group, just with a view to try and see who is going to be feeling the pressure. And it looks to me like Chiswick and Pickett are going to have to work together hard here. Cowley Road Condors and the Army Ladies Race Team really are having to push those numbers, aren't they, Emma?
They are, and this is a long race today. This is 56k, Matt. This is going to be a long Zwift race today, and it's interesting, isn't it? These two really need to close this gap, and hopefully that front group will settle down a little bit and let them in, but you never know.
Well, you can see from your screen, if you look right down at the far corner, it's right over there, you will see there's a blue line highlighted. That blue line is our rider we're watching. That is Chiswick, and we can see above -4 seconds. It's a 4-second gap that has opened up already. Chiswick at the moment just up in the top of the corner there, pushing out 200 to 300 watts at the moment, 157, 156 beats per minute and 83 revs. In the middle of your screen is the speed, the distance they've covered, the height gain and the time of the ride so far. And it looks to me like riders on the group are starting to struggle already, but all these riders are valuable for points. So if we jump in with McLeod, you can now see it's McLeod that's highlighted. If you watch the thumb that we are about to fire off. This is a ride-on. This is going to jump on to McLeod. So that now is a way of saying, no, well done, keep going, and some encouragement. But you can see that gap is opening already. Emma, and another rider here looks like they could well be in danger of drifting out of the group because of this high pace.
And this shows you, Matt, the value of the draft in Zwift. If you look at the numbers these riders are kicking out in terms of trying to get back onto the group, they're pretty similar to those who are sat in the group comfortably. The second you lose the back of that group, you lose that ability to draft. And then really trying to catch a group that are moving this quickly, as we saw from Chittock and Pickett, that it's just so hard and the group just moves away from you.
And you see that gap has grown to 4 seconds, and it's back a further 9 seconds now to Pickett and Chittock, who we are jumping in with now. And you can just see these riders really are working hard. On your screen, top right hand side of the screen, you will see right up over there, you see the map, and we will be changing that map view. We have a zoomed in, a zoomed out, where we can see more of the riders. It also gives us a 3D, which enables us to look a little bit further in distance for the gantry. And all our riders can see all of this whilst they're riding as well. And it tells you whether it is steep or not. So the numbers in yellow, top right hand side, are the gradient. When they're yellow, it means it's getting steeper. When they are red, it means it's going to hurt a lot. So let's dive in with our leading group, who are already really starting to rip this up. And let's bring you all of the action from the British Women's Team Cup, the Zwift Race Series number 4, the finale, with me, Matt Payne, and my co-host, Emma Payne. So we're live here on the Full Speed Events YouTube channel with me and Matt Payne. I'm joined by Emma Payne here in the studio to bring you all of the action, and we are watching the lead group. They've already shed a number of riders, and as you can see, just running along the side of the embankment on the run out from the start in towards Trafalgar Square. The climb coming up with this right hand turn. This is the first real major climb, and it's often a point that a group will break, won't it, Emma?
It is. It's deceptive, this little climb here, and it really does sometimes stretch the groups out, and you've got to keep your wits about you as you're pushing through here.
Now, we've seen 3 riders distance. They're currently a fair old distance back, it has to be said, and that is simply because of the pace. We're looking, I think, at about 45 and 55 seconds, nearly a minute into those riders, and that is some pace that's being set. But look at this, the Army Ladies Race Team not messing about. They've already put a rider up on to the front, and our riders looking to give Gail Robinson and the TW1 team a hard time. Are they looking to maybe damage some of that Sam Perrin race time team early?
I think tactics today are going to be really interesting. Like we said a minute ago, we've got a 31k run into the bottom of the first climb, and what teams are just going to decide to do and how they decide to push on or sit in is going to be a really interesting tactic to watch in terms of this race today.
Well, we can just start to see a few gaps forming at the back, and riders are having to chase down. If we take a little bit of a look backwards with our drone cam, you can see 1 or 2 riders being drifted off the back as they came over the top of that climb, and that is a very dangerous thing to do because, as you've seen earlier, the gaps open and it's so hard to get back on once that happens. And I think it's Shelley Coker at the moment who is in danger of being left behind here, and that's a TW1 team rider who's in danger here. And look at the view from Coker.
Yeah, and it just took a little push on the front of the pack, and the pack stretched, and those who weren't watching got caught out at the back there, Matt.
Indeed, and Coker not getting back on. One of the Army riders back is in there, but Coker now will know that it's going to take a massive effort. If we pull up the numbers here, Coker is dropped to 3.5 watts per kilo, knowing that that group has gone and they're round the corner. That's how fast it must be incredibly demoralising in a race when that happens. It could just be a moment's inattention. You could just be on the wrong wheel.
Oh, and honestly, it can just be a moment's inattention. It's amazing on Zwift how you have to be so on it all the time to watch those tiny changes in power and what the group is doing, because the second you lose that wheel and that draft effect, it is just goodbye.
Well, it is goodbye in that gap already now. 12 seconds to this group. This is our leading group. We're going to get our camera up in the air here. And as you can see, there's a real variety of numbers in here in terms of watts per kilo. That's the number immediately below the rider's name on the right-hand side. Just riding in with Graves, but we're seeing riders being distanced, and those gaps are opening. And if you get drifted off the back by another rider, you're in trouble. And it looks to me like Brooks and Nottage now have to pull this up. Now, Zwift's draft only works within a certain distance, doesn't it, Emma?
It is. You've got to be within 5 metres of the rider in front. And really, Matt, the safest place to be at the moment is in the middle of that pack or near the front. But you don't want to be on the front.
No, on the front is definitely much harder work. I know that for sure. And just seeing Brooks and Nottage there having to put out some big numbers, but getting themselves back into that group. So good recovery by them. They quickly reacted to that, and that is key. You've got to be really attentive, just like in real racing. You might not going to be able to run into the wheels in front, but you can clip off the back, and when you do, then you are going to be in trouble. Now we're onto this climb from the underpass. Another little roller up here, goes up to 3 to 4%, but eases quite quickly before the run down to the river, and we're going to see that speed pick up again.
We are, and looking at that, it's just stretching a little bit there. But actually, everyone's hanging in there, and it's Millie Skinner on the back there at the moment, just pushing back into the group. Look at that, and she's pushed back on those pedals, and she's now moving up to the mid group, and that's the way to do it when you're on the back of the pack.
So let's jump in with Millie Skinner if we can. It's never the easiest thing to do. So Millie riding for the Pro Noctis Red Chili Heidi Kjartsen team is our rider in the Z Peugeot jersey, centre of your screen. Just rolling away in through the pack. She's got teammates around her, and at the moment Millie just keeping the bike tight. Now just take a look at the bikes as we head out at the moment in this group, which are still putting damage into riders, still seeing people being damaged. Millie is currently riding on one of the fastest setups on Zwift, which is the aero framed grey frame that she's riding there. However, deep rims rather than disc, and that is quite simply to keep the weight down going up on to the climb, and that's going to make a difference, isn't it?
It is, and let's remember, Matt, Zwift is a game, and part and parcel of that game is the equipment that you ride. And you can buy different equipment, and as you get to different levels within the game, different equipment becomes available to you. And it does change how fast the bike moves in the game.
And the riders know that. They are looking for the equipment, and as Emma says, the points make that. How do you get the points, Emma? How do you earn nice kit, shiny bling for your garage?
There's lots of ways to earn nice kit and shiny bling for your garage, Matt. Riding Zwift itself and moving through the levels gives you points. Some of the events give you double points, and different things open to you at different levels. And for these riders, the bikes will be available at different levels, so whether they're level 10, level 30, level 40, and the Tron bikes that you can see, so the ones that are in the pack at the moment, we've got some pink and some yellow Tron bikes in at the moment. The ones that are glowing are earned via height climbed.
So it's 50,000 metres of vertical ascent whilst playing Zwift you've got to do to get the bike, as ridden by Gemma Sargent here, and Gemma making her way down on the pink wheeled bike there. Now if you're riding in a team and you're all in the same jerseys, is that a way to make it a little bit easier to work out who's who?
I have to say, in terms of running a team time trial specifically, when you're all in the same kit, different coloured Tron bikes really work if everyone's got one.
Yeah, it does make a difference, particularly if everybody's wearing the same helmets or shoes or socks. But you'll see plenty of riders on the same team, even when they're on the same bikes, will be looking to put some kind of visual identification marker just so that it's a little bit easier. Now, looks to me like this team are working well together. The Samparan team now, they've got some strength in depth up here. I'm seeing 3, maybe 4 4 jerseys for the Samparan team, 4 jerseys from Samparan, and it looks like they're wanting to keep this pace nice and high, with Sargent again on the front here, working hard, and I think they're trying to take the battle to Gail Robinson.
They're not letting the pace off, Matt. We're coming up to nearly 10k of this race completed, and the pace is still pushing on.
Yeah, still 44 kilometres per hour. You can see that up on the top of your screen. And once again, these riders really are looking to keep the pace high on the flat section, maybe wanting to do a little bit of damage to the climbers and the powerful riders. Now, there's lots of riders who can time trial. So if they're a steady state rider, maybe they're going to be able to push on at a really high watts per kilo for a period, but can't respond to a quick attack. So if I was up against a good climber, I'd be looking to kick and kick and kick, sit in, do no work, and then really put the pressure on, put out some massive numbers, and then ease back off again, and just repeatedly do that until they're tired of chasing or they get bored, one or the other, let you go. But I'm not sure that tactic will work with the TW1 squad, because they have got some big numbers in terms of riders in there. And at the moment, if we take a look down, you can see there are 4 riders from the TW1 squad. They've got the red and white jersey. We're just focused in on Gail Robinson. So this is the TW1 jersey you need to be watching out for. That is the team that are leading at the moment. If we drop in with Gail Sargent here, this is the jersey you're looking out for the Samparan women's team. This is the team who've only scored in 2 rounds so far and are looking to take that top spot away. Don't forget, of course, we have that Pro Noctis race team, and we're going to work our way and find a rider from the Pro Noctis race team. Easier said than as we've said before. He says hunting down the side. We're going to try and jump in with Millie, just to give you a reminder. Now, the Pro Noctis Red Chili Heidi Kjartsen team are using this Zeb Peugeot jersey. A real classic jersey, isn't it, Emma?
It is a real classic jersey, and I'm sure there are a number of people, me for one, around the room who have actually had one of these jerseys in real life.
Yeah, not one of the original team jerseys, was it?
No.
I was going to say, where did you buy that from? It's certainly good to see so many riders out racing this already. We've got a really elite group of riders on the road at the moment, making the way down and through. And this group now looks to have settled down into a little bit of a compact rhythm here. They're not pushing on too hard. Nobody breaking up the ride at the moment, just heading along the side of the embankment. And you can just see the MI6 HQ just on the side, just underneath the Zwift airship. So here on the Full Speed Events channel, we're bringing you the last of the races, the finale of the British Women's Team Cup Zwift Race Series, and the teams riding this as a prelude to the open real life IRL. Don't you just hate that? Those letters. In real life, a live race, and our riders get to race some different rows here. It's not all every day you get to ride in towards the centre of Parliament Square, and our riders just coming alongside Vauxhall Bridge, going to be heading in to Parliament Square. They'll have Westminster Abbey on their left hand side, and of course the Palace of Westminster, better known as the Houses of Parliament, on their right hand side. But the riders know that they're going to be taking a turn in towards Buckingham Palace, and really are taking in all the sights. And Zwift is very, very good at putting a lot of depth and colour, putting a lot of detail into the wheels, and that's what keeps it interesting to race and ride. You can see that detail on the side of the Houses of Parliament on the right, and on the Westminster Abbey on the left of the riders they come through. This group's still staying together, and at the moment it looks to me like the riders just about holding in there, just trying to stay attentive as they come alongside the Houses of Parliament. Here they go. And they're going to be taking the left-hand turn at the side of the Big Ben bell tower that you can see just coming up here. So our riders quickly around. They're going to hopefully reappear very shortly. You never know with the camera angle. I suspect we are going to have to drop right down. Here we go, in with them. And that group holding together around the corner, and the draft definitely makes life a little bit difficult for some riders, because if you're not sat in the wheels, then you aren't going to be getting that advantage, and it can be as much as 20, 30, 40% easier sat behind the wheels very easily. In fact, if you get a nice big rider in front of you, a nice big tall rider, and you're a nice little dinky rider that you can hide away quite successfully. Never something I was much good at. I ended up being the donkey on the front most of the time rather than the smart one behind. But let's see who is going to be the riders who save their energy, because this course really is going to lend itself to someone who is very careful about expending too much energy too soon. If you burn up too much energy before you hit those climbs, you're not going to be able to dig deep enough when somebody attacks on that climb. It looks like Samperan again on the front, just keeping this pace high, Emma.
Yeah, and as you're indicating there, Matt, drafting is a real skill in Zwift particularly, and being able to stay back in that group and enjoy that draft is saving some of these riders, quite significant power to be moving at this pace.
It is indeed, and our riders now just coming underneath the wedding cake in front of Buckingham Palace. You can just see the mall sprint with Admiralty Arch in the background. And our riders are now going to go up with the Buckingham Palace Gardens on the left-hand side, as you see the palace coming into view, and with Green Park on the right-hand side. They're heading up towards Hyde Park Corner, if you know London at all. So if we just drop in the map, the dead end turn at the end is directly as you come up to the monument and the arch on Hyde Park Corner, and the route actually goes underneath the underpass on the way back round. But our riders at the moment on this climb, and it is a little bit of a drag up here, isn't it, Emma, at 1 to 2%, and towards the end of the race that could take its toll as our riders come whipping round again.
Yeah, it's actually quite deceptive. You do think it's flat, but it's not. And as you quite rightly say, Matt, it's not till the end of the race you realise where the 1, 2, 3% sections are, and they do become more noticeable. Well,
it looks like Nordin on the front, just trying to keep that pace steady, just looking after Rosen and putting numbers in pace, and Gabby Nordin doing a great job of being a counter for the team in the previous races. But the pace is off on this pack. We're on the descent. It's currently only 1%. You can see they're now all the way across the road, and that is an indication that nobody is taking up the pace here. It is getting very tactical indeed, and this is going to be playing into the hands of any rider who wants to go for a late, long, steady burst, because they're not having to respond or chase down attacks. That means that if they're doing that, they're saving energy for a big attack later on.
Yeah, and I wonder how much those team tactics are coming into play here today. We're looking at that group, Matt. The teams are hosting a lot of riders still in that pack, and actually, is it more important to keep all your riders together and to get those finishing positions than to really play around and risk it by trying to break this group apart?
Well, we'll soon see now. Our riders heading in towards the mall sprint, and this is where we're going to get an indication of the riders in this group. Looks to me like Firth again on the front for the race scene. Female Development Academy quickly moving around at the moment. This group working well together. Now the sprints don't count for anything at all on the ride today, on the race today. They literally are there just to give us a little bit of data on who's in the riders. The riders come in and through, and you can just see those times. And at 17.5 seconds, that's not a fast time through here. Gives you a good indication these riders not contesting that sprint, because what's the fast time on this sprint then, Emma?
A lot quicker than that, Matt. And it's really interesting, actually. This isn't a points race today, but when we do have points races on Zwift, those segments really make a difference, and we really see some different tactics from teams when we've got a points race.
They do indeed. I think 12.5 seconds is a very swift time on there. That's the sort of time we'd be expecting if people were sprinting for a finish or for a fastest time. However, not going to necessarily be the case. And what happens afterwards is we get this little rise, and just seeing riders again at the back just start to get drifted out as the pace picks up. But the riders now going through Admiralty Arch and back in towards Trafalgar Square. Now they're going to go effectively across at 11 o'clock, go around the turn around the island here, and then they are going to be heading out onto what is known as the Classic section of the course. It was introduced as part of the London Classic, the women's race at the Prue Ride London races, and this little corner here, it's slightly up and then downhill down here onto what is the flat section down past the stations and into that dead end turn. But these riders at the moment looks like just about everybody's sitting comfortably in that group, and just watching the races. I think we're just in with EJ at the moment, so that is going to be Harris just riding with for that Army squad in that red and a black jersey. Just watching these riders at the moment, looks like everybody content to keep the pace as is, and saving energy maybe to put a little bit of a kick in. Remember, the first hill that we're going to come to is Fox Hill, and that is pretty tough stuff. And what distance have we got left, Emma, before we hit that climb?
So the bottom of Fox Hill is just after 31k, so we're well over halfway now into that run into the distance. And Fox Hill itself, Matt, is just under 2.5k, but has a nasty kicker topping out at just over 11%.
Indeed, and that is not going to be pleasant for the riders. The watts that's going to be required to stay with the leaders to go over there, and it's going to be substantial. And just seeing Nordin again on the front here for the TW1 squad as we ride in with Harris. You can just see TW1 are in now. We're going to go around effectively the route as we head round here. We're heading back out on to the what is Greater London Flat, but we're going the more conventional way around. This will take us out and along the river first, with the river on the left hand side, going around in a clockwise direction this time before dropping straight through Trafalgar Square as we go down Whitehall. At the moment, these riders no time to take in the changing of the guard from the horse guards there, the back of horse guards square, and just going to be heading down past Downing Street, down past the Foreign Office, down past the Memorial, the War Memorial as well, and the Cenotaph. But our riders at the moment no time to take in the sights, so they head down in towards Parliament Square. Again, you can just see we're getting Westminster Abbey coming out in the distance now. The group behind, we have seen riders distance as the race has gone, but it's important that they finish, isn't it, Emma? Because all those points are going to count.
It does, and every rider finishing is counting in this team cup today.
So our riders in the leading group now making the way out of Parliament Square. Let's take a quick check back on our riders behind. Let's jump in first of all with Kimberly Pickett. Kimberly moving well. So Kimberly on the move here, and currently just making her way. Let's have a look at Kimberly's stats here. So Kimberly at the moment on the drop down in towards that sprint, and currently kicking at 150 watts, 156 beats per minute, 91 res. Nice pedal cadence there, keeping that nice and smooth, and some deep rims on Kimberly's bike there. Kimberly, of course, a proficient time trial rider as well. Prefers the disc rear wheel in time trials to a deep rim, but we'll see how she's going to continue on today. The TW1 team's rider just up the road. Well, that is going to be Kate McLeod. So it's McLeod for the TW1 squad now onto that classic section, of course. Nearly 200 watts for McLeod, 180 watts, 178 beats per minute, very similar heart rate, and 97 rests per minute, so spinning a little bit faster cadence on the way through. 9 seconds up the road, and this is not very far, is Chittock, so let's take a little bit of a look. We'll see if we can see Chittock. Chittock going to be the next rider in view. And here's Chittock. If we look back from Chittock, you just about make out the figure behind of McLeod. And these three riders at the moment, the riders probably likely to go together is Chittock and McLeod. And Chittock at the moment, they're pushing on hard here, 3.2 watts per kilo, extending that lead, I suspect, soon over McLeod. Just looking at the numbers, 27 seconds in front of Chittock. Again on deep rims is a duo, and this is going to be Coker and Brooks. Now these two riders together. The rider from the TW1 squad, this is Coker. Brooks for the Cowley Road Condors in that maroon top. And again, these two riders now heading back out on to circuit. They're now heading into Whitehall at the moment. And at the moment, both these riders working well. If they work together, it will help them push on. And neither of these riders, I suspect, are going to be hanging around waiting for the rider behind. Coker maybe could use that excuse, but I suspect they're all going to want to be chasing Now, just going to head up to the group in front, up to riders in that lead group, and you can see the distance between the riders as they make their way up here. They're already running around that riverside, so the groups are well stretched between the front and the back of the race field at the moment as we run alongside the riverside. This group looking pretty smooth all together as they head out, and now seeing riders forming little duos together at the back into pairs, into threesomes behind, and the time gaps starting to come back together. You've seen riders starting to work together, and Coker and Brooks have got a big gap to this group. They're not going to pull back two versus what is going to be about 25 riders in this pack. Is not going to happen. It doesn't matter whether you're Chris Hoy or Bradley Wiggins. You're not going to get on the back if you're Lizzie Armistead or Anne-Marie Van Vleuten. There's no way you are going to pull onto the back of this group at the moment, just because of the dynamics of having the drafting and the reality that is put into Zwift by the programmers, and it really does make for a real fun game. Now, these riders looking at super smooth at the moment. Nobody off the front at the moment. We've got a full loop round now. Riders who have ridden the Donny Chain Gang, which has been running for the last year, well, no, this is one of the regular courses on the Donny Chain Gang. It's been used for Women's Wednesday on the Donny Chain Gang, the women's only version on the Wednesdays, which is a very popular course this for the Chain Gang, and it is really good to use to see where it's likely to break. And there's a couple of points on this circuit just as we come up towards Hyde Park Corner. It's a little way out at the moment. If we zoom out, our riders just leaving the river. They've got to come up towards the top of the screen around the turns. Now, the little square that you see, that's the first of the little kicks that you get to, but it comes after a long drag up. The second place is the underpass as you drop down underneath Hyde Park Corner and kick up. That becomes a two-stage climb with a 5% kick, a levelling, and then another 5% kick to the high point this side of the river. Our riders will then drop back down again. Now, it might not be enough to break clear for a race win, but it should be a significant trigger point, a significant place where you can put enough pressure on to break off a few of the riders off this group, because at the moment this group has not lost a rider for some while now, and that's really indicative that the group are pretty much all together. Now, looks like I've just been dialing in some stats here, taking a look at the ride. Now, you've ridden this more times than you probably care to remember up here, Emma. We're just coming in and around this square before heading on that little drag up towards the Serpentine and the Hyde Park Corner. If you're riding strong, this is nice. If you're riding not so strongly, it's not so good, is it?
No, well, that's very true, and it's really interesting to see. This pack is a little stretched at the moment, Matt. You know, some of the people are really, it's pushing and stretching as we go here. Some of these people at the back here aren't enjoying this as much as the others.
Well, yeah, the back is, if you're regular at the back, it's not the place to be. You're on the whip end, you only need the gaps to open up and the riders will go. And it's particularly true as you come up and over the crest of a hill. And that's why the climb out of the underpass is so telling, because if you stretch a gap there, it will then open up, and then as the riders go over the top, the distance increases, and it can be enough to break people out of that draft, out of the back of the pack. At the moment, TW1, the red and white colours, the TW1 race squad on the front once again, and really are keeping some kind of control on this. They're keeping the pace high enough to keep people under control and not letting them go off the front, but they're, I suspect, not expending too much energy at the moment. The riders at the back, we haven't shed anybody for a long time now. So just taking a look at the team dynamics here, we've got some good strength in depth here from the TW1 squad. Looks like Sam Paran have managed to put strength in depth in there as well. Emma, what's happening with the Pro Noctis team?
Well, I can only see two riders in that front pack there, Matt. So we've got, I think we've got Millie Skinner in there. We've got Charlotte Berry in there. I'm not sure They put out a full squad today. I think we need to have a little bit look through the back of the field and to see whether the other riders started, because that's going to make a really big difference here today as to what happens.
Yeah, because that's going to be Corin's side and Gornell, who are missing at the moment. They're both strong riders and both have been racing. I know Amy Gornell's been putting some good rides out. I think she's been out racing down south and do some good rides. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Is it the case that they've looked at this and thought, well, we're not going to get any better than third place? Looking at other people have put in, it may well be that they've had tech issues. It's just like you can get a puncture at home, you can soon lose your Wi-Fi. That is for sure.
You can indeed. It's very true. And tech issues on Zwift do happen. And looking at this pack is pushing on again, isn't it? And there's a couple of people getting caught out and having to push back in. And look, we've got Sargent off the back of the group at the moment.
Well, Sargent was right in that group, and Sargent just disappeared off the back on that long drag. We were saying it was tough stuff. Now Sargent trying to kick back into the group. She'll see the group in front coming back towards her, and that is going to help her as she makes her way up this slope. The group at the front are slowed by that, but they're going to hit the flatter section. Now, Sargent was doing a lot of work very early doors. Now, we said this is where we could see a trigger point, and look at this, the groups are splitting. So we're now at the first rise from the underpass. We're now going towards the second of the big kicks, and look at the gaps here. There are riders getting caught out here. Looks like Briggs, who was third last time, is not going to have a hope in hell if she doesn't get into the group in front. It's going to be game over, because look at this front group. They are pushing on. And we said Spirapulo was a rider who had tech issues last time. Speaking of tech issues, but could put in a great ride. Look at this. She's on the front. She's working with Robinson and Skinner here, and they are breaking this group. Now we're going to come up towards the turn, and as we take this right-hand turn, you can see it on your screen. Watch the gaps in the riders. Anyone who is not on the wheels as they come over that turn, good night, Vienna. It's game over. You've got to be on the wheels now, because it goes from 4% up. And watch the speed pick up now, top of your screen. Look at that, 30, 40k. Nearly heading up for 50k already with Spirapulo at the moment. Look at the gaps behind. If you weren't on that group as it came over the top, it has opened now. It drops, it does a left turn, it rises again. This next rise, another break point. So let's see if anyone can push back on. At the moment, Kearney in trouble. She's off the back of the group. Caddo off the back of the group as well. Senior off the back of the group. They've got to push and push hard. Here's that next kicker. You can see, look at this. Becky Seal really is giving it some beats here. And Spirapulo, Bowler as well. Robinson up there. And you can see the riders who did make it, who were maybe right on the limit to get there, are being distanced once again.
Yep, and that little kicker on that underpass is a real place of attack, and we've seen that on the Dorry Chain Gang on many an occasion. But the group here have really used it to thin the group down again before they come into that first climb.
So it looks like Firth, who's on the front for the RFDA squad, being distanced. Coker's gone, Striller's gone, and the gaps have opened up to the back of the pack. They really are going to have to push here to get back in. Really, really difficult to do. They're probably going to need Firth to join them. She's currently sat at 1 second. They've got to try and make this group, but it's now 4 seconds on the way through. And look at this. Looks like Betsy Dew has made the group, but we've got another quick drop down because we're running back out to the river now. And this is a very fast descent when you go in this direction.
It is, and you can see, look at the group moving. They're quickly ticking through the KPH 45, 55, 56, 57. And they're really moving through the pace now.
Yeah, up to 60 kilometres per hour, 5%. You could, in theory, super tuck down here. I don't think anybody dare do that on the way down. And we're just taking a little bit of a look behind that group of riders behind are not going to get back. There really is some big efforts being put in behind this pack here, and I think it's Firth who's got the pace on there, and she's gone past the other two. She's kicking out 6.5 watts per kilo, so this is not impossible on this rolling slope, but she's got to maintain a serious effort here to be able to get back on. Look at this, 6.5 watts per kilo. If the group in front are aware of that, they could well start to push on and try and open the gap. But she's bringing this down. It's at 2 seconds now.
She's burning a huge match here today, Matt, to close this gap. And oh, it would be so good. It'd be so good if she was able to do it.
I don't think that's a match. I think that's a flare that she's sending out at the moment. He's going to be trying to get back in. I know the RFDA team manager, the DS, is going to be Andy Briggs, will be making sure the riders know not to push at the front. I think Sarah Briggs was caught out by the group behind her. She made that front group. Just seeing a teammate there. And look at that. Firth has ended up getting flagged by that, and it means that she's in there. Now that will disappear shortly, but Firth will. She's been flagged. That was the start of the effort. Now, what does the red triangle mean? I really want to see that, Emma. Red triangle is not what you want to see.
It's not, is it? And that's all relating to Zwift flagging the rider for going above what their expected watts per kilo and ability should be in terms of the rankings that you get given on Zwift and through Zwift Power.
Well, the good thing is because this is overseen and filmed as well as being checked out by our race organiser, it means our riders know that they are going to be in there. And what happens is that that rider is in. At the downside is that we can't now see them on the way through. So Firth now doesn't show on the results on here, but her ride will show us her time. As she comes over the finish, she can still take advantage of other people's stuff, but she doesn't affect them. So she's now, after putting out that effort, it is cost a dear. Now look at this, Berry now on the front, 7.7 watts per kilo, and Charlotte Berry stretching her legs there. And Skinner just going and putting the pace on here now. Is this to give Robinson a hard time? It's Robinson who's left chasing here.
I'm thinking there's some team tactics coming into play here, Matt. Look at that. It's like a 2-up time trial at the moment.
It is, and the response coming from Samparan with Dew and Seal trying to hang in on the back of the 4 riders behind. So look at this. This could become very quickly a group of 6 riders. Spirapulo who caught out behind that Kearney also. But here they come now all back together, and Bowler for the CRC now pushing on up. So Stasi making their way to the front of that group pretty much. But Robinson quickly asserts authority. Now look at this. Look at the riders they go now. Greaves is on the front. Is this how they're going to break Gail Robinson? Are they going to snap the legs off the TW1 rider? Well, Robinson's not having any of it. She says, I'm more than equal to this. I'm still here. You might think you've given me a hard time, but look who's on the front, and I've got a gap on you. You're going to have to try harder than that, folks. That is some riding.
It's good to see them giving it a go, though, Matt. I mean, you know, Skinner's on some great form at the moment. She led a teammate out the other weekend in a real-life crit race and ended up taking second place. So the form is there, and it's great to see her use it. And
Berry quickly onto the heels here of Robinson. Look at this. She quickly came across that gap. She see Robinson putting the move in, and Robinson trying to take advantage of the effort they're being put in. And these riders have to stay attentive at the back of the group. It is putting lots of pressure. It is distancing riders behind. They really have to push here, and we are seeing riders being pulled out of this group. This is a very, very selected group now. And as you can see, it looks like about 11 riders to me. And some big numbers in here for the Cowley Road Condors. They're doing a great ride today. Look at all those maroon jerseys. They are equal in terms of jersey numbers to the Samparan team.
And we're just over half distance, Matt. We've still got 26k of racing to go today.
Ouch. No other word for it but ouch, that is for sure. Look at this. Our riders now heading in, and just alongside the Tower of London here in the heart of Zwift's world of virtual world down in London. We're going to be heading on to Tower Bridge very shortly indeed. These are riders now, one group. This is our leading group of riders, well and truly motoring the way through town as they go along the side of the battlements and heading out on to Tower Bridge. Coming up soon, we're going to be on to Fox Hill. The first big climb of the day is going to be taking it. So just Keeping an eye on this. Looks to me like these riders not shedding anybody at the moment as they come across Tower Bridge, heading over the Thames here in the heart of London. And if you've been to London, you know just how good this is. A replica of the riding in London. It's a lot quieter though, which is much nicer than in real life, that is for sure. Now our riders heading out over the bridge. They're going to be heading down into the escalators and by the magic of Zwift straight out into the Surrey Hills. No riding through the suburbs for these riders. They get straight to the good stuff. And that's done by the wonders of the London Underground. A bit like in real life where you jump on in one place and magically reappear another in town. Well, that's exactly what's going to happen here. So just getting confirmation, only 2 riders for the Pro Notice or Red Chili Heidi Kjartsen team today as these riders hurtle down the escalators now. They're going to be an uphill on the way back and they're 15% on the way back in as our riders start to head in towards the climb. So let's give you a quick reminder of that course profile. Now remember, it's been flat all the way out. We're going to head in towards Fox Hill and then Box Hill. The first of these climbs is Fox Hill, and it's basically the back of Fox Hill, but it is a steppy climb, my favourite, because it has a really interesting profile. Very steep start to it, as you can see from this fantastic VeloViewer graphic with the red start to it. It then eases and we go over the very top of the climb, and the actual King of the Mountains banner is after a K after the actual summit. That's not nice, is it?
Not really at all, Matt.
Well, we can see our riders now heading in towards the Fox Hill climb. If we pull up the map on the side there, you can see they're heading in towards the turning that is going to take them out and up onto the climb. The climb starts as we take the right hand turn. Already the gradient at 7% now. So let's get a good view of our riders as they go up here. We're in with Berry at the moment. And Berry currently kicking out 5.5 watts per kilo, 300 watts at the moment. You're going to keep an eye on these numbers as they head up the hill. And Berry at the moment on the front. Robinson sitting in the pack, Spiripulo in the same group, and at the moment it's the Samperan team and the team of Pro Notice Heidi Kjartsen who have been on the front, but look who is in attendance, hovering in the background, waiting to pounce. It's Robinson. She sat there. Remember, this is the first of 2 big climbs today, but there is a big gap between them. I think it's, if you include the descent, nearly 10k between the top of the hill and the start of the second big climb. Now, interesting to see that Briggs is in here, the Ginger Ninja, sitting at about 9th position there in the blue of the RFDA. Briggs in this group. She made that chase back. She was badly positioned on a couple of occasions, but chased back in. Shows she's certainly got some strength today. Has she got enough to keep the gaps closed down? It's opening up between her and Kearney, and we're now starting to see 2 groups on the road. Briggs is going to have to close the gap pretty quickly here because the group in front are disappearing here, and look at that front group. Once again, it's been stretched out, and look who's on the front here. It looks to me like it is Dew who's got the attack on, so basically putting the kick in here, and behind it's Berry, Robinson and Senior, the riders who are following, but this is 3 riders from the Samperan squad who are very, very close, but Dew really is opening this gap.
Yeah, and there's some really class riders in this front group today, Matt. And we can see by the power that they're putting out at the moment on this climb, they're really going for it today.
You can see just how steep it is, that red number top right hand side of your screen. It shows just how hard it is, going up to 11% on this climb. The maximum numbers for this climb, is it 11%, Emma, for the climb up here,
so
for the maximum gradient?
So we're topping out today on Fox Hill at 11.7%.
Ouch. Don't like hills. Too many pizzas and beers. That's for sure. Right, Robinson on the chase. And Samperan really have taken the race to Robinson, the winner of the previous 2 races. And at the moment, Robinson being marked out by Berry and Seal. So as Dewey's up the road, let's drop back to Robinson here. Robinson at 5.5 watts per kilo. Behind, she's got 2 Samparan and a Pro Noctis rider in there. In terms of the team standings, though, Samparan at the moment putting in some big scores. 1st, 4th and 5th at the moment. If we look at TW1, the current leaders, they are currently sitting in 2nd place with Robinson, so right up there. But then it's Nordin currently at 23 seconds, the nearest rider to a teammate. And that is going to cost the TW1 team. The team management needs to get their act in order here and really start to pull the team back together. They've got to get those riders back in. The gradient eases part way up this climb, and you can just see the riders at the moment climbing well. Robinson has gone on the front. She's closed down Dew and now taking the group up. Now we're still doing 28, nearly 30 kilometers an hour here, and that means that these riders are going to be able to take advantage of that aerodynamic drag, the shelter from the riders in front. And as you can see, riders now dotted all the way over the hillside. Now here we go, Robinson on the front. It's 3 riders sitting in the wheel tracks, Berry, Dew and Senior. Seal is not out of the group completely here. If she pushes on, she could close that gap down. She needs to do it on the uphill section, as you saw coming over the top from the underpass climb. If you don't do it early, you can't do it on the downhill because the gap will open. The distance, the physical distance between the riders will go as you go over the top. But at the moment, Seal, Senior, Dew, Berry all sitting on the wheels of Robinson, who is on the front at the moment and looking super smooth on this climb.
And this is a group of really class riders, Matt. It's going to be really interesting to see if this group can stay away together and then work on the downhill, and then that 12k run from the top of this climb to the bottom of the next one.
Well, that says it all, doesn't it? Because these riders at the moment, we've got 3 riders together, 2 behind. It would put 3 Samparan in there. They don't need to go too far in there. Remember, with 12k, if you've got 3 riders versus 2 riders, no one's going to want to work with Gail Robinson, because Gail Robinson, of course, has won 2 in a row. No one's going to want to be on the front and help her out, particularly the Samparan rider. With 2 riders behind, 2 teammates behind, they're just going to go, not a chance, I'm not working. Let it all come back together. We've got 3 of us, there's 2 of you, and you're both on different teams. So really going to play into the Samparan team hands here. Now, the riders coming up to the top of the climb, coming up towards the actual summit. But remember, of course, we've got a kilometre between the summit and the run down to the finish. And you can see here in the Surrey Hills, the riders really are starting to open that gap up to the group, the 2 behind them. Big time gaps going further back.
It is now. You can see these 3 moving away. We've got 2 riders on the chase, and then a big gap back now, Matt, to the riders behind.
So at the moment, the time gaps are 7 seconds back to Seals. It's 9 to Senior, 35 to Greaves, 37 to Kearney, 38 to Spirapulo, 49 to Nordin, 57 to Bowler. It's 58 to Caddo, Millie Skinner at 1 minute 16, Briggs 1 minute 17, 143 to Sargent, Greaves is at 2 minutes, and Striller 225, Gunning is at 242, 247 to Nottage. Looks like Hill, Coker, both at 2:43. Hamilton at 3 minutes. Looks like these gaps really are open. We're actually off the back of the page there. So as our riders go in over the top of the summit there, you can see the times of up there, 5 minutes and 40 seconds for Robinson and Dew going through. Seal and Senior now coming through at 5 minutes 51, so that's 11 and 12 seconds respectively. And the 2 riders here are going to have to try and close down on the leaders. It's going to be 39 seconds back to Kearney. And Kearney now coming on that little bit of a run in. And just got, Greaves with Kearney just behind, and Spirapulo not all that far. So it's Greaves at the moment for the Cowley Road Condors, who is going to come across to the top in 6th place, with Spirapulo and Kearney going to be fighting it out for 7th and 8th places. But here comes Greaves. You can see what that time gap's going to be. By the time up Fox Hill, remember, these riders were basically all together as it came over the start line. As through goes Greaves in 6th place. And currently looks like she's nearly a minute down there. Only 2 seconds behind Kelly and Spiripulo. These 3 riders need to get together and to work together. It's a little bit of a gap back to Nordin. So Nordin's our next rider coming up to the summit. As our leaders look to be basically still together, the 3 riders leading this out at the moment. Behind Bowler coming through, the CRC rider with teammate Caddo on her heels. Then it is going to be Skinner, I think, and Briggs, who are both together now coming up to the tops. This is the second counter for the finish line race to the Pro Notice Hardy Kiarts and Red Chili team. As Skinner and Briggs on the way. This duo now coming up to the top of the climb. They're going to go over the top, and they are going to around 12th and 13th places.
And Matt, let's just give you some context here. Last time the Women's Team Cup went up Fox Hill, Berry went up in 5:57 and Robinson went up in 5:59. They've both bettered that significantly today. This pace is a lot quicker.
It is, and we remember that was the finish last time as we were here on the climb. It was the last climb of the race. Now let's take a little bit of a run down here. Kenny are working hard. We're going to jump in with Senior and Seal. They're currently doing 64 kph on the way down here, just trying to keep that pace up just over the marker, which will keep them rolling. But look at our 3 riders. There's 12 seconds now between our leaders here. The 3 leaders, 12 seconds to 2 riders behind, and that has really played out well for Robinson and Berry in terms of the time gaps. But it's not played out well in terms of who is behind, because they're going to have a passenger. They're not going to see Jude doing any work here, I don't think. She's not going to want to give an easy ride to Robinson and to Berry as they come down into London. Once again, they're going to take the right-hand turn coming up on your map, and they're going to be heading back underneath those tunnels and up the escalators on the way in. But if you look at these riders, they are 3 absolutely class riders, and they are currently on the way through. It's currently going to be Robinson and Berry who are left to do the work, I'm sure. We're going to see Jute in there. That gap now at 11 seconds. And Senior and Seal, if they work well here together, they're going to have an advantage that they're going to be able to close the gap down relatively quickly and put 3 riders out of 5 in that lead group.
Which would be brilliant, wouldn't it? I mean, they have such strength and depth, that team, in this race today. And, you know, they're really going for it.
So 10 seconds now the gap, and it looks to me like Robinson trying to keep the pace high here and trying to push on. The lead riders now going to be taking this turning that takes them up on to the platform and then up the escalators. But those escalators are mean part of Zwift.
It is, and to be really honest, the best way to ride it is ride it like a sprint.
Yeah, you've got to kick really hard in here. You just see Jude's number going up there. She hit it. She went up to nearly 12 watts per kilo. But these riders are taking it pretty steady here. And look at the chase behind. That distance is shortened by the climb between the riders. But look at Seal come up here. Seal is absolutely flying. This is some ride here. Seal and Senior are closing that gap down. They've pulled it down to 2 seconds. Because Jude, the passenger in there, has nicely disrupted the group in front. And look at this. This group is going to come together. It's going to be 5 riders. And Sam Perrin have played a blinder here. They have put 3 riders in the top of 5. Are we going to see Robinson and Berry getting squished worse than a jar of jam?
And that is the way to use that escalator to bring that group back. You know, you can really make up some time on that very, very small section in London, and we've just seen it ridden beautifully. Yeah,
the big kicks there by Seal and by Dew brought them in touch. You can lose so much time on that escalator, and we've got to remember, on the way into the finish, we have an escalator out and onto Tower Bridge that is basically exactly the same, coming back in, but it's only, what, K and a half to the finish?
It is, and really, honestly, if you treat that section like a sprint, Matt, and you go all out for it, it can make a massive difference and put gaps into your opponents.
Well, as our riders come into Parliament Square, our leaders coming in, 5 riders all together. Let's take a look back at what's happening behind here. It looks like we're going to have 3 riders together. You've got Grease for the the Cowley Road Condors in there. And then we have the Will Houghton Race Team riders. That is Spirapulo and Kearney here. Now they need to push on. They're going to score some big points here. They're not necessarily going to catch the 5 in front. The 5 in front have shown that they have the pace, but I would be looking to keep that pace high, because behind is another group of riders who are going to be trying to close the gap. Because we have Nordin in this group. Nordin's going to want to push on as a TW1 rider, but she's got 2 County Road Condors in there. So really going to be interesting to see who is working and who's not in these groups. Because that descent really has pushed these riders into packs together. Then a little bit further back we have Skinner and Briggs just coming out from those escalators pretty much together. And then it's going to be Sergeant, Gray, Striller and Gudding. But if we look at the groups, this is going to be where we're going to see some tactics being played out. Who is working out of the pack of 3 here of Caddo, Nordin and Bowler. And Nordin won't want to bring too many riders up, but she'll want to try and close it down. If she can get to the next group, she'll want to finish in the front of them, but she's got to close a 33-second gap down. And at the moment, it looks to me like it's Grease who is pushing on a little bit here, maybe just disrupting the work of the other 2. Now, if I was Grease, I certainly wouldn't be working too hard here, quite simply because I'd be looking to take the take away the 6th place spot. Because if you can take that 6th spot, you don't need to do any work. There's 2 teammates together. Let them do the hard work. If you get caught, well, you've got 2 teammates coming behind. So at the moment, if I was Grease, I think I'd be setting these on the wheels of these 2 and really upset them, really frustrate them, do absolutely 0 work.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it, about making sure that you're not doing too much work there, but ensuring that you're keeping the distance from the group behind should you want to make sure you're picking up the points.
Well, Cowley Road Condors would have 3 out of 6 riders if these 2 groups 3 come back together again, but there's no guarantees that is going to happen. Now, with these riders now dropping into the classic course, the dead end turn, they're going to see the riders come in the opposite direction. This is our leading group of 5 riders, and look at those blue jerseys of the Samparan team as we see coming in the opposite direction. There they go, the riders on the other side of the road.
And we said this morning, didn't we, Matt, that the Samparan team were going to be hard to beat today, and I think they're really proving that with 3 out of the top 5 in that pack.
Well, you can see these riders now heading in towards Trafalgar Square as they go into Trafalgar Square, almost directly in front of them. That's Group 3 on the road there, going through. So that is Group 3 heading in the opposite direction out onto that circuit. It shows you just how big these time gaps are. Now, onto the Mall we go. We're going to go on the Mall. We're going to come around down past the Palace. We're going to go to Parliament Square, take a right-hand turn, a left down the escalators and onto Box Hill, the final climb of the day. And they're all going to be thinking, how do we keep Robinson under control? How do we get that big point score at the front? And do Samparan burn some energy to take the win, or do they rely on Robinson to tow them round all the way and just score massive points there on the way through? They won't want Robinson taking the top spot. Remember, Robinson is part of the leading team, the TW1 team who are leading. Then we have Millie Skinner. Charlotte Berry sat in the group. We're going to try and jump in with Berry. So Berry sat in the group in the Zeb Peugeot team, and Berry, of course, is in that Pro Noctis Red Chili Hadi Kiatsun team, currently in 2nd place. But then, well, take your pick. Who are we going to pick on? Let's jump on Becky Seal, because she's heading up to the front. The Samparan team. They are the team currently looking to take top spot. They've got to score big today, and they have 3 riders in this leading group. Yeah,
but Matt, if you're a Zwift Power junkie, you can take a look at these riders on Zwift Power and you'll see Their stats are all pretty similar. This is a really equal group, and it's going to be really good to watch this last climb, because I think I would like to think we're going to see some fireworks.
So I think for me, my tactics would have to be attack on the way up, but that's not necessarily the wise move. More the race commentator wanted to make things exciting, I think, and let's see what's going to happen. This group of 5 as they climb this hillside looking pretty good altogether. The 2 riders behind. These are 3 riders behind. This is Kearney, Spirapulo and Greaves, all looking pretty smooth. They go underneath that banner there, and if you look at those times, they're reasonably quick, but I've seen some female times through there about the 11-second mark before now, pretty comfortably, and heading into the 10s. And that shows you that these riders are riding at a pace to get through the finish and to conserve energy, to go fast overall rather than just fast in a quick burst. 1:04 is the gap. These 3 riders maintaining the gap to the chasing riders behind, and these are the riders behind. This is group 3 on the road here. So group 3 at the moment is Caddo, Bowler and Nordin. Nordin, the second points counter for the TW1 team. Behind them then, Briggs and Skinner together as they come underneath Admiralty Arch, and they have currently a minute and 3 up to Bowler and Caddo as they come underneath. And remember, Skinner, of course, the second points counter for the Pro Noctis race team, but the Pro Noctis race team already on 613 points, and I think it's going to be very difficult for 2 riders to beat their worst score, which is 174 points. TW1's worst point score, 149. Remember, they only have 1 rider in that leading group, another rider distance. But Sam Perrin scored absolutely nothing on round 3 because they weren't there. And that means that they are currently the team, and I would imagine that they are the team basically lined up to be in with a shout of the win. But every single rider and every point counts in this.
It does, and all it takes, Matt, let's remember this is a virtual platform. All it takes is a dropout or a technical issue, a bit like a puncher in real life, and we could see things really change.
Definitely, and that's where it always pays to have some very handy pit crew and team managers with you. If you've got your mechanic alongside, and a lot of our riders, what you can't see is, whilst we can see one single solo avatar from these riders, what's actually happening is that there will be a team manager on something like Discord, talking in their ear, talking on the speaker. You'll also find that a lot of the riders have somebody in the room with them. When we were talking with April Tacey at the Women's Only Wednesdays on the Donny Chain Gang, April was saying that she had Harrison, who's a very fast rider in his own right, sat alongside making sure that the tech worked, that the dropouts didn't happen, that everything was wired right, giving time checks, giving time gaps. So whilst it is still a solo physical effort, you are finding that riders really have got a support network. It makes a huge difference when it comes to racing, but we still find riders on their own. Some riders prefer to be left alone. Emma, what you like when you are riding on a turbo trainer and doing a race effort? Do you like to have anybody around you?
I don't mind anyone in the room, but I don't like anyone in my sight line.
Okay, sight line is it, right? Okay, now let you listening at home interpret that how you want and believe it if you really want to. Right, let's take a look at the time. I guess once our riders get around this corner, it is looking like this group continuing to extend their lead outwards, and the group still working well together. There is very little to choose between these riders, and as Emma said, very similar riders in terms of performances. Zwift Power, the fantastic site, all part of the Zwift platform, and supported by Zwift, that tells you all of the inside stats. What can you learn on Zwift Power, Emma?
Zwift Power is really useful for a number of things, Matt. If you're interested in rider stats, you can take a look at the riders on the race, take a look at the riders in the event, and you can see what your competition, if you're riding, is averaging and putting out over different time frames on Zwift. So everything from their 20-minute watts to their 15-second watts, so you can take a look and do your research on your competitors to see who's got the sprint and who's got the long staying power.
Well, we're soon going to find out who's got the sprint, who's got the staying power as our riders come. And seeing riders coming in the opposite direction now, and that's one of the great things about Zwift. You do get to see riders going again, depending on the course. You quite often will see riders coming in the opposite direction. You get to a good view of the leaders, particularly if it's a lap race and you're getting laps. Not that I don't know anybody who'd sit up and make sure the leaders came past us so they didn't have to go out on another lap. Not that I was guilty of that, not too often. And you see the TW1 rider coming in the opposite direction of 5 leaders. This is where it's going to come down to who of these 5 leaders is going to be strongest. Behind, the groups are still together, and looks to me like the 3 riders, 1 minute 30 now the time gap back to the riders who are chasing to group number 2. Group number 2 still holding the gap of about 33 seconds to group number 3. In fact, it's still 33 seconds exactly. So down into the tunnels we go, and that's just nothing to choose between these riders. And interestingly, they're not making Robinson do all of the work here. I think I would quite literally, if this was real life and I was getting the nod to come through, I'd quite literally give Robinson a push on the backside and literally shove the other rider up in front. If somebody's racing with me and they're the expected winner, you aren't going to see me sitting in front of them, because you can afford to let it come back. They've got such a gap now, one minute plus. They're not going to get caught. They don't need to do the work. What they need to do is make Robinson either chase or work and really try and snap. She is the rider, remember, who has soloed to 2 victories, including in London, but they have been when we've had massive climbs on the way through. We only have 1 more climb to go, and then there is a very fast drop down. How far do we have from the summit, Emma, to the finish on this course?
So from the summit of this climb to the finish, we've got just over 6k.
So 6k of descent, where it's about having the speed to stay away. It's about having the aerodynamic drag the draft. It's not just about power, but look at this Robinson now starting to stretch her legs. It looks like the rest of the riders very attentive here to the moves being made. Robinson just backs off the power there. Skinner backs off the power. Now, you don't want to be leading Robinson up here, but you need to have the strength on the rest of the rider. It's choosing your moment to break it up. Samparan have the strength in depth. Nobody making the move here. Looks to me like Robinson, though, is coming around, cutting that corner, and the rest of the riders sitting on the wheels. Who is going to take it on here? Let's have a little bit of a look at these numbers as we see Dew come up. So is Dew going to be the first to put a little bit of a challenge in to Robinson here? Puts in 5.6 watts, 6 watts per kilo she's gone up to, but Robinson quickly on to the heels now as Dew got the power to break clear. That gap has not completely opened. You can see Robinson responding to this. Berry is doing the same. Berry riding reasonably smartly here. I think not putting too much effort in, just pulling it back gradually. Now Dew goes backwards, Robinson goes on the front, and looks to me like it's Seal who was off the back there, just pushing hard onto the heels here. So Seal coming up into the wheels of Senior, then Dew, then Berry and Robinson on the front of this group as they come up this climb. At the moment, it looks to me like Robinson is content to set the pace, to put the pressure on. She's gone up to 6 watts per kilo, and it's paid dividends. She's shed 1 rider. Looks to me like Seal just not able to hold that pace at the moment. But remember, this is a big old climb up here, because this is a box hill, and it's a long, gradual time trial effort up to the top before the run in to the gantry, to the banner. But we've got a kicker after that, haven't we, Emma? The top of the KOM is not the top of the climb.
That's right, Matt. So Box Hill is slightly longer than Fox Hill, which we rode first today. So Box Hill's around 2.7k. With a maximum gradient of just under 8. So it's not as steep as Fox Hill, but as you've just said, the actual top of the climb is not actually the last bit of climbing you do. There's actually a really nasty little kicker after you've gone over the King of the Mountains banner.
So once you go through that King of the Mountains bonus, says you do have that kick on the end, and that could make life difficult if anybody is feeling the pressure towards the end. These riders at the moment all looking pretty smooth, just riding in with Robinson, who's just starting to open a gap on the riders behind. It is Berry who's closing down to Samparan riders just about in touch. Berry puts a little bit of pressure on those pedals, then you can just see the watts per kilo easing off. She's not going to go in front, she's going to let Robinson do the work. They're still travelling at 27 kilometres per hour up Box Hill. If you want to go do that in real life, good luck, because it isn't the easiest climb in the world to get up at that kind of pace. That's for sure. It's a real time trial effort, and this we know Robinson can do. But look at this, she's going to be taken to the finish here unless she does something special. But there's no steep kicker, there's no steep attack point on this climb as you go up. It's basically the same gradient. The steep section is on the very final part as you go over the very top of the hill itself, over the top of Box Hill. And then you do have that run down now. We do have the escalator climb back into town, and that is where we might see the riders put a bit more of an attack in. It's certainly the final attacking point short of a sprint, but look at this senior now. Heart rate 187 beats per minute, and senior is being distanced a little bit by that group, but they're not all that far away. It's still 3 seconds, and if they hesitate too much, then I think senior could get back on. I don't think the same can be said for Seal. Seal at the moment 179 beats per minute, 230 watts, but look, the gap has gone there. 15 seconds, Emma.
Yeah, it's true. The gap is moving away, and it's really interesting. Berry and Jew are keeping Gale out on the front there. Robinson is not having it her way today.
No, and this is where she's going to be either feeling exceedingly strong, knowing that she's got something in reserve. It's a great feeling if you're riding up and you know that you got the power to attack when you want. What's not so good is when you're on the front and you're working on your limit and they're still staying with you and you can't break them, and you know that you're carrying somebody the likes of Charlotte Berry or Betsy Jude down to the finish line. I wouldn't want to take Berry to a finish line. She's got a massive kick on her. She's a superb sprinter, and I've seen her in action on things like the National Championships at Barnsley. She was absolutely flying, and there's no wonder that she's always in demand for that sprint finish. But Robinson at the moment, we've seen much bigger numbers than 4s and 5 watts per kilo from Robinson, but she can't say too much because there's not much course left.
There isn't, and Jew and Berry are playing a really good game here. You know, neither of them are taking up the lead. They're letting Robinson do the work, and you can see how they're controlling their watts to push on, close the gap, sit up, take a rest. You know, it's a really interesting game here.
Yep, definitely a good move being played there, and now Robinson backs off the pace. But look at Berry. I've just seen a 1.9 watts per kilo of Charlotte Berry.
They really don't want to go on the front today.
Well, I don't think I want to go on the front, that is for sure. And you can see these riders at the moment as they come up towards the top of the climb of the King of the Mountains, but not the summit. We have that 1K traverse across the top of the plateau up onto the very high point. But the moment these 3 riders are together, and they're going to come round here, this is where we're going to see a time for Box Hill. Now, we didn't get a time up Box Hill last time we were here on the British Women's Team Cup, part of the Zwift Race Series. They go through the banner, and 6:37, so it's not all that quick. We've seen faster times, haven't we, Emma?
Well, it's not bad going. Let's put it that way today. I'm not sure there are going to be many others on the ride today, Matt, putting in times like that.
Well, I think there's a little bit of tactics going in there. You look at seniors just come across at 6:53 on the way through there again. Just being a distance, losing a little bit of time up over the top. Seal just heading in now. This is where we're coming in towards our next attack point, but you've got a big downhill to come. This is where it gets steep. You can just see the rise coming in front. Has anybody got the power? Is somebody going to put a kick in here and really hurt someone else? Just looking at the numbers here, and Robinson is on there. Berry is putting 6 watts per kilo at the moment, but look at these riders, they're still together. So nobody putting the hurt on at the minute, and could be a lost opportunity here. They could have missed a chance to make somebody's legs hurt. Remember, you don't need much when you come to that final sprint. And if you're feeling strong or confident, I would be putting a kick in there, knowing it's going to come back, but saying to people, I'm going to make you hurt, and everybody else will feel it in the legs. Well, they rode off on the last climb over there. They'll ride off on the escalators and somebody's head goes down. So onto the descent they go. The gap is 22 seconds to Senior. Senior is only on the other side of that hill as she comes up the climb here. Then it's going to be Seal. Currently 42 seconds down on our leaders. Greaves coming in towards the banner at the top at the moment. And she has gone up there. She's got a great ride up there. And Spirapulo and Kearney, the two riders there, are at the moment glued together, but Greaves has gone clear of the two Will Houghton riders there.
Yeah, I'm giggling at the moment because I'm watching the first three all on the super tuck, taking those rests where they can. You know, at one point in time when they started going downhill, they were all in that super tuck position, all taking a rest after that climb for what I think is going to be an epic kick out of that underpass today.
Yeah, we're going to drop down into those escalators. Let's take a little bit of a quick check back to the group. This is the group of Caddo, Bowler and Nordin. They are still together. They come in. Skinner and Briggs together. Sargent just off the back of that group. Looks like a big group with Hill, the army team, well together. But we are going to work our way right the way up to our race leaders as they come down. Look at this. The speed is absolutely nuts on the way down here.
It is, and I think they were touching close to 90 kph there, Matt. And that descent is so fast, and we said there's 6k running from the top to the finish, but it's not going to take long to get there at this pace.
It's not. The clock is ticking on these riders as they come down here. The gradient just starts to level out as they come in and around the turns here, and this is really going to be telling. It's Robinson on the front, but the watts per kilo 4.3, 4.7. They're going into the tunnels here. Now you can see the turns on your map in front. We go around the long sweeping right hand turn in the tunnels, a 90 right, a 90 left, and then the final chance to put a massive burn on up the escalator climb, 15% climb, very short, proper sprint. This is a two-stage sprint, effectively separated by Tower Bridge and the Tower of London. So let's see who's got that double kick. Can anybody break clear? It's coming shortly. The nerves are really going to be jangling now. They know once they do this right hand turn, the escalators are there. Who's lining this up? Who is going to put in a big kick up here? We're in with the winner of the previous two races, in with Gail Robinson. Berry now moving, Dew kicking some big numbers here, and Berry up on her to the escalators. And look at this, Dew has gone on the numbers. She's really started to kick, but I don't know that she's done it early enough. No, she's not, but they've distanced Robinson a little bit. If they push on now, they've got a chance, but Robinson is responding. 6.3 from Robinson closing it down. Robinson has come on, and she's come on to them quickly. She's going to roll pretty much straight the way through here, I think. And Robinson rolling through the gaps there. This is going to be incredibly tight. Now we're on to Tower Bridge now. This is the run over the bridge coming up. Robinson being left to lead it out again here. Berry is on the heels. Dew is in here. I'm not sure who's your money on, Emma.
Oh, do you know, I really don't know, but I'm going to go with Berry today.
Well, let's see. Is it going to be Berry? Is it going to be Robinson? Is it going to be Dew? All three teams want the big points. They want the big numbers. It could come down to literally 1 or 2 points. It's going to be who's got the sprint. Let's jump in with Emma's pick here. No pressure, Emma, but you're in with the team here. We're going to follow Emma's rider on the way in. So Dew in the multicolour blue and white jersey. The jersey of the Zeb Persia, that is of course the Pro Nazi Strider, and TW1 with Robinson in the red, white and grey strip here. Now who is going to take this out? We're riding up over the top. You can see the gantry is going to come round as they come over here. That's 7% of Robinson just keeping the pressure on. The gap has not opened. Nobody has gone clear here, and look at this. The three riders are lined out. Now is Dew setting off to go sprint in and through. This is where it's going to be about who's got the kick. The gantry is going to come. It comes around the left and around the right. You can see it on the 3D map. Dew is laying off here, surely. But look at this. Barry has started to put some numbers in. She's up at 7. Now Dew comes hard. Dew is coming at 9.2. The Canada respond. 11 watts per kilo by Dew. This Sam Brown team could be racing to victory here. And Dewey's opening the gap up, but can Berry take it? 100 metres now. Is there enough of a kick left in Berry's legs? It's going to be so tight here, and Berry's gone over the top. Berry, oh my goodness, that is going to be a photo finish. Emma, who took that?
I think that was Berry who took that on the line, but what a finish, Matt, to that race.
Oh, just a storming ride. It's astounding just how quickly the riders were on their way through there. And we are going to very quickly try and jump in with our next riders into the finish. Apologies for jumping on beyond the line there, but wanting to stay with them through the finish. Oh my goodness, what a finish, what a sprint. Now, Senior, the next counter here for the San Piran team. Surely they're going to have done enough to take the victory in the team competition. They had 0 points for round 3. They scored big. They scored absolutely huge, but I think it's second place. It's going to be a watch back on the videos to double check positions there. But Senior, our next rider coming in and through the gantry here for the San Piran team. Next up is going to be Seal working her way in towards that gantry. It's going to come up in front of her here. So she makes her way that drop down round the side of the Tower of London. It's a nice roll down this on the bike before that little kick, and a big kick from Seal to go over the line. She is going to take 5th place as we go across, and I think it's going to be... I'm just going to work up with Kearney and Greaves. I suspect it's going to be Greaves. It's going to be our next rider in to the finish. Then Kearney, Spirapulo, and looks like Kearney and Spirapulo have just been separated by that climb. Spirapulo is not too far behind though, so that could come down. Looks like Caddo and Bowler are together, but Greaves now coming up towards the start point once again. And Greaves for the Cowley Road Condors. They've done a great ride, the Cowley Road Condors. They really have showed some strength today, Emma.
They have, and they've really put a strong team out, and the team have packed, and they're putting in some good performances.
Well, definitely, and looks to me like it is going to be Greaves, our next rider in, as she goes alongside the Tower of London here. Nobody in sight behind. The gaps have opened up behind her, and you can see the cadence sitting at about 80 revs per minute at the minute. It's 270 watts, and the Cowley Road Condors rider is going to be our next rider in and through the line of the gap. 20 seconds to Spirapulo, and looks like the two riders have come together behind. 90 seconds, so they are working hard together. So Greaves is going to come across here for 6th place for the Cowley Road Condors, and we are going to jump back to Spirapulo and Kearney here. This is going to be tight. The two teammates from Will Houghton Race team are looking like they're doing a good team time trial, just unable to contain the rider in front, but they are going to come through, I think, well clear of a Bowler. So our next two riders in and through. Spirapulo comes through along with her teammate. Now we're in with Bowler and Caddo at the moment. Again, a 2-up time trial here from the two riders from the Cowley Road Condors. And again, not all that far from the finish at the moment.
No, and yet again, two teammates crossing the line there.
And going to be just clear here of Nordin, and then we're going to see an interesting battle. Sarah Briggs and Millie Skinner, both riders who've spent a fair bit of time riding around the Peak District.
Indeed, and probably never together actually, Matt. But it's going to be an interesting sprint between those two. Briggs is strong, but Skinner's sprint is outstanding.
Well, as Nordin goes in and through the line, we're dropping back to that duo. So Norden goes through in the 11th place. We're going to go in with Millie Skinner and Sarah Briggs. It's going to be between these two. They battle it out for Strava, Queen of the Mountains, all the way around the Peak District. They both hold a substantial number. They're both used to riding out with some strong riders, and both are very, very competitive. I'm not sure who I want to put my money on between these two. Very, very good. Be very close between them. Both fearsome riders. They're not going to want to give away any points either. Remember, all the points that Briggs scores is going to the total of the RFTA because they've not had a point score on round 2. So every point counting for Briggs. And of course, remember, Skinner is going to be looking to see what points she can score for the team, whether it will be enough to lift them over that 174 with 2 riders. I'm not so sure, but they will be taking points away from the riders behind them, and that is critical when it comes to the positions.
There's a bit of cat and mouse going on already between these two.
Two watts per kilo?
I know,
what's
I'm just at 1.9.
That's what we want to see from these two. We know they're going to both want to take the sprint. Who is going to do this? It's great to see. They're going to be watching the screens like a hawk at the moment.
Right, look, it's... Oh, they're both gone. It's Briggs
They've
has
gone
gone
way
out.
early.
Skinner's
What's that?
kicking.
That's madness. They've gone from about half a K out here. I mean, it's not even in sight. It's 300 metres to go, and Skinner's put one kick in. Briggs has responded. Can Briggs get on the wheel? I don't think she can. Skinner has got another kick on, another 8 watts per kilo. She doesn't want to let those points go here. She wants to kick to the line, and I think Millie Skinner is going to have the better of the Ginger Ninja. Sarah Briggs is going to come in, the leading rider for the IFD. A team, but Skinner comes through, then Briggs, and I think it's going to be those two just clear of Sargent. So Chip Leon Sargent on that Zwift concept bike, the Tron bike there, looking very smooth. 67 revs per minute, 178 beats per minute, 400 watts from Sargent as she's coming towards the line here. And I think there's going to be a real bit of power coming out there, just rolling that downhill. So great riding there by Sargent for the Samparan team, and I think she's going to be their 4th point scorer. So that's a big point score for that team now, behind teams who do need points. TW1 have a rider in here, and they've got Striller in here, so can Striller do the business? But look at the volume of riders from the army in here. They have got 4 riders in the squad. You've got Coca riding in here for the Cowley Road Condors, and of course you've got still in the white, red and grey for the TW1 team. TW1 team are the team who need the points. They really are desperate. Every single point can make the difference here, but the kick is coming, and the army squad are going to be mopping points out of taking them from the team. Striller's going to go trying to take it. They're still a long way out here. Remember, we're over 500 metres out at this point. 400 metres. It's going to come to 300 metres here. And Striller's not letting those points go. She's up at 7.5, 9.7 watts per kilo. So Striller's doing the business here for the TW1 team behind. Grace may well take the kick behind. It's going to be very, very tight. Striller's going to hit the line here, and great riding by Striller to take that behind. Then Coca working hard, but not necessarily going to be able to get in with the leaders coming in to the line.
And that was a rider who wanted those points, wasn't it, Matt?
Yep, definitely. We're just going to just do a little bit of a sneaky drop. Apologies, we're just going to go back in with our riders. Hamilton, Brooks, Coca, McLeod, Chittock and Pickett are our riders out on course at the moment. And as you can see, the riders working their way down. 21st at the moment for Hamilton, 22nd for Brooks, 23rd Coca, McLeod, Chittock and Pickett are our riders out on course. So we're going to jump in with Hamilton, who's just on that descent at the moment. So the riders working now to get themselves back into the finish. This fast descent here on the side of Fox Hill. This is the Fox Hill side, the descent side. The climb is box and the descent Fox this way around, and you can just see that pace really is picking up as rider comes down. Takes a left-hand turn heading in towards London. Signposted at the side of the road. You can't read that as you're going down, and in that super tuck position that we've heard Emma talk about, and basically needs to be steeper than 3% descent and a higher speed than 58 kilometres per hour to be able to tuck in. Now she has the gap, but these riders are pretty much in 1 to 2. So it's the only duo is the Coca duo at the moment, and they're coming up towards the top of the climb at the moment. So Hamilton almost completed the descent down. Brooks just about to crest the top of the summit proper. Coca and McLeod, the two TW1 teammates, coming in towards the king of the mountain, the KOM point. The gantry is going to be coming up around 2 more left-hand turns. Then it's going to be Chittock and Pickett who are out there, and remember, all these riders are looking to score points, to take points away from the other teams as well, so always important to get to the finish as they go over the top there. And Coca and McLeod going through and taking that descent now as they go down on. They're going to be over the top of the hill onto the descent of Fox Hill. On the climb of Box Hill, this is going to be Chittock, who's now coming off that steep section in towards the flatter section past the visitor centre and dropping down through the King of the Mountains and then up to the high point. And Pickett nicely on the climb, take the turn onto Box Hill, so 1 more big ascent up and over, and then it's the evil escalators to come. And speaking of the escalators, here comes Hamilton. So Hamilton now in the underground and on the climb, and you can see just how steep this is. It's 15% on here. It is absolutely brutal. Some real sadistic soul at Zwift dreamt this up, I think.
I have to agree with you, Matt. I mean, honestly, Hamilton's revs per minute dropped to 32 going up there. She had that in a big gear and she was really trying to turn it. For me personally, coming up those escalators is one of the worst sections on Zwift.
Definitely, and good to see these riders well on their way in. So we can see here Hamilton riding well, and Emma in here in the studio with me. Emma, it's been some interesting racing so far. Still got riders out on course, but TW1 having Gale up there, very, very strong, but Sam Perrin has strength in depth, and that really did pay off for them. Only 2 riders from Pro Noctis.
Yeah,
might have cost them a position or 2.
It's been a really interesting race today, hasn't it, Matt? And we've seen a pack right to the finish line on a 56k race, which has been absolutely superb to watch. And you're quite right, whilst Berry for Finish Line Racing took the win, Sam Perrin had 3 riders in the top 5 today, which is just outstanding. And their 4th counter was still in the top 15, Sargent finishing in 14th place. So, really, really strong performance by Sam Perrin's women's team today.
Yeah, definitely, and I can't see how anyone can touch them at the top of the standings, because they will have scored a massive points haul today. And TW1 doing a great job. They were nowhere to be seen pretty much at the end of round 1. I mean, TW1 were 5th at the end of the first race, and then all of a sudden, with Gail and the rest of the team really stepping up to support, they put in some fantastic performances and really ran their way up to the top of the standings, and it was theirs to lose. But with Sam Perrin coming back with having no points on the board for round 3, they were in a position. It was that game in hand scenario, wasn't it?
Very much so. And you've got to remember that it's not necessarily where your first rider finishes that's important. You know, it's a team event. It's all team riders to count. So all of the riders who are in the qualifying positions we need to be thinking about. So where were we? So Gail finished in 3rd today. The Norden finished in 11th. So we've got some good riders and some good positions. And it's going to be really interesting to see where those riders pack today.
Yep, don't forget, of course, you can pick up all of the results on the British Women's Team Cup website. We're going to let Emma dive back in to the stats, busy checking out the stats out there. So we see Hamilton now making his way in. Hamilton's going to come across the line in 21st position here. Great riding by Hamilton, being chased by Brooks, but Brooks not able to close to get down. Brooks over the escalators now and heading in towards Tower Bridge, taking the right hand so that lines are up with the towers of the bridge. It's a fantastic masterpiece of engineering, all part of the latest technological revolution, which is of esports and virtual racing. The riders out and racing, putting in some great performances. Good to see so many great athletes out and racing, and you can see these riders up pushing all the way to the finish. 151 beats at the moment from Brooks, the Cowley Road Condors rider heading in, and probably with a mouth as wide as it is on her Zwift profile as well. Great profile picture, one of the best ones we've seen for a while. It's good to see Brooks coming in, the Cowley Road Condors, supporting the race series and doing a great job. And I think they're going to have scored some points today that will take them up the standings. Whether they've done enough to bypass the team in 4th place is going to be very interesting. I think they've probably moved themselves up into a 4th place position with the ride today. They were sitting at about 44 points, I think, if my memory serves me correctly, 44 points behind the Team LDM Brother UK. But their lowest score was 108, and I think they've put enough riders up the road today to move themselves up from 5th into 4th place. So around that left-hand turn, around the side of the Tower of London, just going alongside the start pens, goes Brooks, and Mary Brooks now heading in to the finishing last 500 metres or so. She comes into the barriers. So the Concord barriers at the side of the road, around that 300 metre to go. Mark Brooks pushes on here, 1 hour 37 on the clock, 56k under the wheels, 476 metres of climbing done, and only the last metre or so of ascent up to the line to go for Brooks from the Cowley Road Condors. Great riding by that squad, and I think they've now done enough to get themselves up into that 4th place. But remember, we'll be catching up with those standings on the British Team Cup website now. Back to McLeod and Coker, the two teammates together here, coming in to the finish and looking pretty strong here. So McLeod with the white helmet, it's Coker with the red helmet here. So Coker just coming to the right hand side here. So Coker in red and McLeod in the white. These two teammates pushing in to the finish here on the Zwift Race Series number 4, the finale of the rides on Zwift, and the team series heading into the real world, and the race series kicking off not all that far away, a couple of weeks at time. Interested to see whether it's the same teams in real life versus Zwift, because although there are some Zwift specialists and some Zwift race teams out there, these teams competed in the Zwift Race Series and the Team Cup, all racing in real life as well. So here we go, two teammates together. If that was the teammate, would you be sprinting, Emma?
Oh,
come
probably
on.
Yes.
You know you would. So here they come. This is between McLeod with the white helmet and Coker with the red helmet. I think they're going to be rolling in here. I can't see. Oh, I don't know. It's 7 miles per kilo. It's a drag. Here they come. Oh, who's going to get it? Oh, it's McLeod who just takes that from Coker as they came in and through the line. And we're going to go out to our next two riders. It's going to be Chittock, who is going to be in next. Remember, these riders have had a hard road because they've not had the advantage of the bunch, and that's the importance of getting off the line fast, isn't it? And we're literally going to be coming alongside the start page. You can just about make them out in the distance there. We were there over an hour and 40 minutes ago now, and the importance of coming out from those pens and onto the road quick is it's absolutely critical if you want to be in touch. You want to take advantage of a group.
Yeah, definitely, Matt. And these last two riders coming in today were the two that we saw distance at the start. And there's one of the things with Zwift. If you're not hitting the power that you need to out the start pen when that red start banner drops, you've got real problems. And quite often within the first half a K of a Zwift race, there's already groups on the road.
Well, we're now seeing the penultimate rider heading into the line. This is Chittock. It's Sue Chittock heading in for the finish. Just over 100 metres to go for Chittock heading in to the finish. Looking pretty smooth on the way in to the finish. Just seeing those revs ticking up 400 watts nearly from Chittock going in. And we're back in with Pickett now. So Kimberly, the Cowley Road Condor, coming up to the summit of the hill here on Box Hill, and looking super smooth as she comes up, to the top of the King of the Mountains rather than the top of the summit. And some great views off the top of Box Hill here. So as we see Kimberly continue to push on, one last kick at the top of the hill, she'll see that rise coming in front of her very shortly. Going to drop back to Emma. Some great riding today, and as we see our last rider go headed towards that descent, 4 great rides. We had 4 really different courses. We had the out and back course first of all, and that really is a virtual world of Zwift. I mean, it's created to race and to ride on, and I thought that produced some great racing. Gave us a good indication that we were going to get some close racing, some sprint finishes. Then we went on to Surrey Hills, and that was brutal.
Yeah, it really was, wasn't it? And there was a real difference between our second, third and fourth races and that first one. We had a much bigger pack on race 1, and we've seen race 2 go to single riders, and the dominance of Gail Robinson in round 2 and round 3. Then today we've seen a very different race again, with around 30k of flat, with the pack staying together, and then no single rider dominating today. We saw that group go down to 5, and then we've seen it go down to 3, and then that sprint finish at the end of the 56k today. So just to go back over our finishing places today, we saw Charlotte Berry take the win today, followed by Dew and Robinson in that group that came into the finish. Then a minute back we saw Senior come in, followed by Seal and Greaves. We then went to 7th place, which was taken by Kearney, 8th by Spirapulo, 9th by Bowler, and 10th place was rounded out by Caddo. So we're here watching our final rider descending down Box Hill on the round 4 of the British Women's Team Cup, and Pickett is continuing the descent down off of Box Hill. Making use of that super duck position, and why not?
Well, great to see our last rider on the way down the slopes here. And if people want to get involved in riding on Zwift and need any advice or need to get started on it, what's the best way to go about it?
Oh, there's lots of things you can do. Zwift Insider is fantastic for all the tips, hints, and posts that they've got there. There's a Zwift blog podcast, Matt, that you can listen to, that's got everything from setup and bike choices to racing tactics. And there's lots of different groups and Facebook pages out there as well. So Zwift is great from a social scene of riding and getting to ride your bike in a safe indoor environment, right the way through to, as we've seen today, elite level racing.
Indeed, and of course there is lots of rides you can join. So you can join a ride which isn't a race, and it will tell you watts per kilo. It'll tell you how fast you're going. You do have to take them with a little bit of a pinch of salt. Some of the groups are faster than advertised, some are slower than advertised. And don't forget, of course, you can then get involved in racing. Good ways to get used to the pace. Often there are chain gangs, things like the Donny Chain Gang, where our riders start off with a controlled workout. About halfway through, it then turns into a race. The ride leader in the Tuesdays and Thursdays, that is Russ Downing, the former national champion. In the Women's Wednesdays, it's Emma, my co-host here today. And that is a great way because you don't have to have that start kick out from the gun. It's a little bit more controlled, isn't it, Emma?
It is. I like to think about it as you could probably just about get away with jumping onto a chain gang without a warm-up, because we start with the warm-up first. So it's a slow ramp up until full pace rather than a full tilt, which is what we see at the start of a Zwift race quite often. And
on something like that, if you're not going to be in with the Kelly, you're not the fastest rider, you're maybe just starting out, you're coming back for an injury. Is it suitable? Is it the sort of thing that you can do there? Are you riding on your own?
Oh, the Donny Chain Gang is great actually, Matt, for all levels of riders. So we have a yellow beacon who is the lead of the race, and the ride who is controlling the pace, as you've said, either Russ or myself. We also have a red beacon, and the red beacon will sit at around 2 to 2.5 watts per kilo for the whole ride. So if you're at the front and you blow because you've pushed too hard, there's always someone to pick you up with a bit of friendly banter at the back. If you want to use the chain gang as a social ride and ride around with the red beacon and enjoy the banter at the back, that's always an opportunity, and one occasionally on a Thursday I make the most of myself.
I was going to say that sounds like the voice of experience speaking. Don't forget, you can get in touch with the guys, because they have a massive Facebook page, 2,500 people on the Facebook page for the Donny Chain Gang. So there's always somebody who can answer a question, whether that's how to connect your Wi-Fi, how fast should you be pedalling, or should it really hurt this much going up the escalators, or why are my legs jelly when I go over Tower Bridge. I think all those questions have been asked and more. Don't forget, of course, you can get in touch with us at Full Speed Events. We cover lots of events, and of course work with Donny Chain Gang to bring you all of the action live as well, so you can see yourselves in action just like you were out there racing in real life. Now I'm going to say some very quick thank yous before we see Kimberly Pickett head across the line. First of all, to Lisa West and John Miles. Lisa, the race organiser, and John, the director and head honcho of the British Women's Team Cup Series. Massive thank you for their work behind the scenes, making this happen and putting the race series together. A massive thank you to all of the teams who have supported the racing, and we look forward to seeing you. We know we see lots of you regularly, week in, week out, either on things like the Chain Gang or racing on other races. But thank you for supporting this, and we'll see you, I'm sure, in real life soon as well. I want to say a big thank you to the riders. Absolute fantastic performances, and whether you are first rider, last rider, or somewhere in between, every single one of you absolute stars. It does take some doing to sit there and race a Zwift race out, particularly if you're not necessarily having the best day out on the bike. And of course, I want to say a massive thank you to Emma, who is here on the mic with me at the moment here in the commentary for Full Speed Events. And as we see Kimberly Pickett coming through, going to be a good feeling this, Emma.
It is. She's been out there on a solo ride for quite some time now, so that finish banner is going to be mighty welcome as she crosses it.
Well, in and through the line she goes. 1 hour 49 minutes almost exactly. So Emma, thank you very much for joining me in the studio down here in the old Beerside studio, as you can tell by the vaulted ceiling. It's great. And gotta say, big thank you to everybody who's watched. So thank you for watching. Make sure you subscribe to the Full Speed Events YouTube channel. If you want to watch more riding, then don't forget, of course, you can subscribe to the Downing Cycling YouTube channel, and on that you will find loads more rides. The Women's Wednesdays on the Donny Chain Gang, and we've got lots more rides as well as the open ones on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Don't forget, if you want your event covering, you'd be surprised. We can really look after and do all this for you in a really effective way. And so don't forget, whether you've got a company who wants to ride out there, or whether you've got an existing ride and you want it covered and you want to get your riders out there and give your sponsors exposure as well, get in touch. You can get in touch with me. That's Matt at Full Speed Events. You can get me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, etc. Matt Fixer Payne. Emma, where can we get in touch with you?
You can find me, Matt, on Twitter. I'm at Biking Emma, and Full Speed Events as well.
So make sure you get in touch. In the meantime, enjoy your riding. Make sure you keep yourselves safe out there, whether you're riding indoors or outdoors. And from Emma and myself, we will see you soon. Thank you for watching.